Started. Okay, I think we can start now. I think everyone is online. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being online with me. This is pretty amazing to have, such a big response for our series of master classes and virtual tastings. 2 weeks ago, we did the Brunello di Montalcino masterclass, and it was a huge success. Beyond expectations, considering that we have a lot of members of the wine club that obviously could not host tastings in their homes. So the situation is the same for pretty much everyone all over the globe nowadays with this stupid virus. So Steve says that we're having trouble seeing your video. Let's see, I think it should work. Please tell me if you have problems seeing the videos. Okay, so as I was saying, a lot of people were having a hard time hosting events in their house, and I can understand that because we in Italy we cannot invite people over to our house. Either Tuscany became red zone, meaning that we are basically in another strict lockdown, very similar to the one we had in March. Actually, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here. I'm at the restaurant Osteria del Borgo. We are on complete curfew from 10 p.m. So I don't even think I'm supposed to be here. But anyway, thank you very much for the big success for the Brunello di Montalcino Masterclass. This one has been a success. We have a lot of people online. I see a lot of people online on Zoom. I see a lot of people on Facebook as well. We'll be having an event every other Sunday. So 2 weeks from now, we have the Amarone tasting, which is going to be a lot of fun. We have Camilla from Massimago as well, a very special guest. 4 weeks from now, December 13th, we have the Barolo and Barbaresco with amazing guests. And on the 27th, December 27th, we're gonna be having the Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile tasting, which I'm obviously very much looking forward to, since I'm looking forward to talk about Vino Nobile. But tonight is Supertuscans night. I'm very excited because Supertuscans, a lot of people know the Supertuscan wines. A lot of people know Sassicaia, Masseto, Ornellaia, but it's curious to analyze the history that led these wines to become so popular all over the globe. Okay, just a brief introduction. I'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation, an introduction which will last about, I think, 20 minutes. The introduction will last for about 20 minutes. Then I'll be introducing our special guests. There are Ugo Fabbri from Tenuta, Prima, Pietra and Riparbella, and Cristian Pepi from Fattoria della Talosa here in Montepulciano. Two amazing friends of mine, two amazing people, two very knowledgeable people working in the wine business that will help us discover secrets and discover new things about this amazing category of wine that is, Supertuscans. For the ones that don't know me, I'm Francesco Maramai, the head sommelier of the Perbacco Wine Club and Osteria del Borgo in Montepulciano. We have Mary that I will introduce later on. She doesn't want me to show her around now. The two of us, will be answering all of your questions. Feel free to write questions in the chat, even questions. No questions are stupid. Even a question that you think is stupid is not stupid. Wherever you need to ask me, feel free to ask me, because this is a new format. This virtual tasting is interactive, so you can interact with me and with our guests anytime. 2 weeks ago, we had some amazing people that asked, what are tannins? I take for granted sometimes that all people that I'm communicating with, they know certain terms. But if you don't know something, if you don't understand something, just ask me. I'll try to reply. Okay, so after the presentation, I'll be introducing the two amazing guests, and then you can do your questions to me and to your guests and to our guests, and then we'll be starting with the wine tasting. Okay, I think we can get started. I'm gonna share now my screen with the presentation I did on PowerPoint. I know PowerPoint is very successful in the US, so I'm just, adjusting to your culture. It's the first time, this is the second time I do a PowerPoint introduction, and I hope you will like it. my very slow computer. Okay. There you are, with the beautiful background of Valdorcia, of the Vitaleta Chapel, Cappella di Vitaleta, and between Pienza and San Quirico, one of the most iconic spots in Tuscany, and by very far my favorite spot all over in all Tuscany. With the beautiful background of the Valdorcia, we see the introduction. So Supertuscans, the rebellious side of Tuscany. The introduction was made by me for the Perbacco Wine Club. Okay. Challenging tradition, rules, and again, rules. In Italy, we love to make rules, even although, I mean, most of the people don't respect rules in Italy. This is our country, but there are a lot of rules, especially in wines and food products as well, especially the ones coming from small appellations. It's good to have rules, it's good to have laws in order to preserve the quality of the wines and to make the wines recognizable and to keep the quality of these amazing wines going from generation to generation. We saw the Brunello di Montalcino 2 weeks ago. Brunello di Montalcino's got very, very strict rules. There's a disciplinary with a consortium that belongs to the appellation Brunello di Montalcino, and this disciplinary is very strict, and you need to respect certain rules. We saw that Brunello needs to be made with 100% Sangiovese grapes coming from the municipality of Montalcino, made in between 150 and 500 meters above sea level, 50 months of aging, blah, 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 all these criteria. You know, it's good to have these criteria, but Supertuscans were born outside the main appellations in order to avoid the rules and to give expression to the creativity of the winemakers and to fulfill the request for French-style wines in the market, and also to bring new wine zone into the wine scenario as well. But this was not the only factor. There are some other factors. Have to be honest. Oh, I like this one. The fiasco's fiasco. Should have been a comedian. So the situation in Italy in the 40s and the 50s was pretty bad, because, you know, we were coming out the Second World War. So the situation was that, you know, an economical depression after Second World War. There was no middle class whatsoever, whether very wealthy families or basically farmers. Italy is a very rural area. So wine for farmers and for the lower class was just part of the diet. They would just have wine at the meal, with the meal, just to get calories, to get going, for instance, in the farms during cold winters. So the production was more focused on quantity rather than quality in the 40s and the 50s. The old vines that we have still nowadays that are 60, 70 years old are very different from the one that the winemakers are planting now, because, for instance, farmers that were not planting just Sangiovese here in Tuscany, they were planting Sangiovese and other grapes, because some grapes that were giving a better yield and a better result with, for instance, cold weather. But if you had a warm summer, you would need grapes that would have a good yields and a good, you know, good turnout with warmer weather. So you plant other grapes than Sangiovese. So, you know, they were diversifying the vineyard in order to bring food on the table every single year, according to the vintage, even if the vintage was exceptionally rainy or exceptionally warm. Another factor is that the wealthy families were making wine for their own consumption. We'll analyze the phenomenon of Sassicaia, the most popular Super Tuscan, the most popular Super Tuscan in the world. We will analyze, so the family, Incisa della Rocchetta family, made this wine for 24 years just for private consumption. And then they sold it after 24 years. So, you know, they were making wine just for the family and their friends. So up until the 60s, despite having a lot of tradition for wine, Tuscany was mostly associated with the fiasco bottle of Chianti, an insipid table wine. I've been bad calling that insipid, but just to give an idea that, you know, mostly table wine we were making. Besides some great exception of good Chianti Classicos, Brunellos, and Vino Nobiles, the region was lacking in fine quality wine, as well as the whole country, to be honest. We will, so 2 weeks from now, we will do the Amarone. And we will see that Amarone is a phenomenon born in the 60s, 70s, 80s. The Barolo, same. The Barolo before, it was a wine that it was difficult to drink, difficult to approach. It was an everyday wine, a table wine. And then in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it had a constant growth, as well as, you know, Tuscan wines. Going to the next screen. Oh, I love this one. So this is the story of Sassicaia, of the first Super Tuscan. This looks like the layout of a Brazilian soap opera, to be honest. We have 2 legendary horses, 2 noble families, and 1 legendary winemaker. So with the beautiful background of this iconic road that is the Bolgherese, the Viale di Bolgheri, so the Bolgherese street in Bolgheri, right by the coast, which is one of the most iconic roads that we have in Tuscany. And right here on the left bank, you have the Sassicaia estate right here. So with this iconic background, we talk about the Incisa della Rocchetta family, a noble family from, you know, the 20th century, even nowadays, that saw Mr. Piero della Rocchetta, Incisa della Rocchetta, and the son Niccolò owning a farm in Bolgheri, where they would breed and grow and train horses. Nearco and Ribot are not just 2 normal horses, they are champions. They were winning races, and they were true champions. They were legends at the, you know, mid 20th century. So up until that time, up until the 60s, the Incisa della Rocchetta family saw the Sassicaia estate only as a farm where they would make a little bit of wine, because Piero Incisa della Rocchetta had tasted some Cabernet Sauvignons from Bolgheri and another Cabernet Sauvignon from Italy, and he didn't dislike the wine. He said, well, let's give it a go. Let's plant, everyone's got Sangiovese. Let's give it a go with the Cabernet Sauvignon, see what happens. We plant it here and see what happens. And they were making house wine, but this was just the farm that the family was using. It was their summer retreat, because Bolgheri is close to the sea. So they never thought about the idea of, you know, commercializing the wine. Up until the day, and we go on to the next slide, these 2 folks met Piero Antinori. Well, actually, the Incisa della Rocchetta family, through a wedding, they got somehow related to the Antinori family. So the Antinori family, for the ones that don't know Antinori, they own estates nowadays in Oregon, in Washington area, in Napa, obviously, called Solare is one of their most popular wines, in Hungary, in South America, all over the place. The Antinori family is a family that is the most important family in the wine business in Italy, and one of the most important families in Tuscany, because they are in the wine business since 700 years, almost 700 years. So, you know, they knew all the best winemaker, they knew the best people, they had the best connections. So Piero Antinori tasted the wine and he said, maybe this wine has potential. Let me introduce you to the biggest expert that we have in Italy nowadays about Cabernet Sauvignon and Bordeaux blends, whose name is Giacomo Takis. So Giacomo Takis, this guy right here, this gentleman, is holding 2 bottles of the iconic wines that we are talking about. On his left hand, Sassicaia, on his right hand, Tignanello, because he's kind of the father or mother, whatever you want to call him, of these 2 iconic wines. Because through the association of Piero Incisa della Rocchetta, Niccolò, and Giacomo Takis, we have Sassicaia, whose first vintage is 1968, the first vintage that was commercialized and sold in the market, even though they were making wines in 1944 just for the family. Then what happened? Between the association of Mr. Giacomo Takis and Piero Antinori, we have Tignanello, the other amazing Super Tuscan. So while Sassicaia, the first vintage, was commercialized in the first vintage to be on the market was 1968, Tignanello was 1971. So while Sassicaia is a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, still nowadays, Tignanello was very new, because on Tignanello, Piero Antinori and Giacomo Takis took a parcel of the best Sangiovese the Antinori family has in the Bargino cellar that they were using to make the Chianti Classico Riserva, and they blended it with Cabernet Sauvignon, which was something very new. Tignanello, while Sassicaia helped, Tuscany to be discovered by the world, Tignanello helped Sangiovese to be discovered by the world of wine lovers. So if we are here and I'm doing these tastings, and I'm doing this job, I owe a lot to these people in the picture. I owe a lot to Giacomo Takis, Piero Antinori, Incisa della Rocchetta family, because these people gave a huge contribution to the fame of Tuscany as a wine region all over the world. We go on to the next slide. And this is a secret, a scoop that I found out for you, because 2 years ago, I went to analyze a private cellar of a gentleman that owns an infinite, unbelievable Sassicaia collection. And he had this bottle of Sassicaia, 1968, with the white and red label and the red capsule. I just didn't recognize it. I thought, what the hell is this? Because Sassicaia is this one. This is the official label of Sassicaia with the official blue capsule, which is still nowadays is used to make Sassicaia. This one, this is the label. But I found out through a lot of researches, there were two versions of Sassicaia 1968. The one here to the left is the one that was just for the family's consumption, and they were just given as gift to friends. The one to the right is the official one that they put on the market. So it was mesmerizing to see that such an iconic wine for 24 years was a secret wine, a table wine that was drunk just by the family and their friends. Yeah, just a curiosity I want to share. Oh, I make you study a little bit now. There's a lot of dates. Okay, how did we go from a table wine to the international success of Supertuscans, or Sassicaia, or these wines? So I brought out a few dates. 1968, first vintage of Sassicaia, Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, and Vigorello from San Felice in the Chianti area, which is Sangiovese, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. Again, we have a Sangiovese blended with Bordeaux grapes. 1971, first vintage of Tignanello, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Sangiovese. 1978, one of the most important dates, Hugh Johnson, a master of wine, and one of the editors of the magazine Decanter. He did a wine tasting in London, a huge wine tasting with the best expert of the world at the time. And he brought Sassicaia 1972. This was a blind tasting, and they tasted the best wines of the world made with Bordeaux blend. There were Napa wines, Australian wines, South American wines, and obviously Bordeaux wines. So the favorites were, well, everyone, if I had the penny, I would bet on the 6 Cru Classé of Bordeaux. I would bet on Chateau Lafite. I would bet on Petrus. I would bet on Chateau Mouton Rothschild. But the best wine of the night in the wine tasting was Sassicaia 1972. Big surprise. No one had ever heard about this wine because it was only sold in Italy pretty much. And it was a table wine. So among the best wines of the world, the best wine of the night was a table wine. And this was a huge hit because then these erratic blends, as I call them, were Parkerized. Robert Parker found out, other important magazines in the US found out, important magazines in the United States found out about these wines. And these wines, all of a sudden, they grew in popularity, like dramatically. And it became, Supertuscan became a very important wine in the wine scenario all over the globe. And probably it's Robert Parker that invented the term Supertuscan, because there was no definition. Since they don't belong to any appellation, there were you could name single wines. You could name Sassicaia or Tignanello, but you couldn't categorize these wines. 1985, Lodovico Antinori, another member of the Antinori family, decided to start making Ornellaia, also in Bolgheri area, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc. And in 1986, Masseto, which is the most expensive Super Tuscan that we have. Then the vintage 1985 Sassicaia got elected best wine of the world by Wine Spectator. In 1988, Batar by Querciabella was born, the first white Super Tuscan. And in the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, there was a big dispute in Italian wines between the new school and the old school of winemaking. And Super Tuscan gained a big success because the fans of the new school, of course, they were supporting and cheering for Super Tuscans. And this increased the popularity of Super Tuscans, but also of old school wines, because the fame of Super Tuscan put Tuscany on the wine scenario, helped to put Tuscany on the wine scenario. And here we have the growth of the Chianti Classico, of the Brunello di Montalcino, of the Vino Nobile, of the Morellino di Scansano, of the Vernaccio di San Gimignano, all the Tuscan appellations that now are popular. You know, they had a boost by the Super Tuscans. So it will be fun in the Barolo Barbaresco Masterclass to analyze the new school versus old school dispute, which was a proper feud in Langhe, in Piedmont. Families broke because of the rivalry between old school and new school. There was a generational disaster, a generational break in between, the fathers that belonging to the old school and the sons belonging to the new school. This is going to be very interesting aspect to analyze in the Barolo and Barbaresco tasting. And also 2015, Sassicaia was elected best wine of the world. 2 years ago, the vintage 2015, which is, again, this one right here, if you can see it, this is the best wine of the world according to Wine Spectator. So Super Tuscan success put new wine areas on the map and helped diversify the heritage of Tuscan wines. I hope I'm not too boring. This is why I brought these lights, these flashes. So if you're falling asleep, I'm gonna wake you up with the lights. So the Hall of Fame, we have Tignanello, Solaia, which is his bigger brother, this guy right here. This is Solaia 1995. Pretty expensive wine as well. Sassicaia, the 50-50. A couple of minutes, I told the story about the 50-50, which was possible in a country like Italy, very conservatory, very old school. The 50-50 phenomenon was possible only within the Super Tuscan phenomenon. So in 1990, some winemakers, 50-50 is this one that I'm pointing now with my mouse. Some winemakers, they gather in Tuscany to celebrate the success of a beautiful vintage that was 1990. And they were having a dinner at a Avignonese estate in Montepulciano. And they were having another blind tasting. So each winemaker will select his favorite wine and they will, give ratings and marks. So the two best wines of the night were the Merlot from Avignonesi from Montepulciano and the Sangiovese from Capannelle, from Chianti Classico. So the two owners and winemakers of the wineries, Mr. Ettore Falvo from Avignonesi said, okay, well, yeah, good job, but my Merlot is way better than your Sangiovese. And the owner of Capannelle said, no way, my Sangiovese is far better than your Merlot. So at the end, they were having a friendly fight, we can call it. They decided to blend the two wines into a decanter. They gave it a swirl and they served the wine as a super wine of the night. Actually, the experiment was a success because people loved it. People were enthusiastic about this amazing wine because you have, the smoothness and the big cherry and the silkiness of the Merlot and this nice savoriness, minerality and straightforwardness to the Sangiovese, typical of Chianti area. So this experiment to make a crossover, to make a wine that has 50% of the grapes from one appellation and 50% of the grape from another appellation was something unique. And it was impossible to replicate with Brunello di Montalcino, for instance, because Brunello di Montalcino, Vino Nobile, Barolo, Barbaresco, they need to be made in the same estate, bottled within the municipality of the town of the appellation, and they have very strict rules. Super Tuscans, there was no disciplinary, no rules, so they could do it. And here, one of the most iconic wines that we have in Tuscany, the 50-50, was born. Easy as it is. Then we have Ornellaia, Masseto, Batard, the first white Super Tuscan, Flaccianello, 100% Sangiovese. I wrote that predominantly Super Tuscans is made with Bordeaux blends. So Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, but also can be 100% Sangiovese. Just the winemaker doesn't want to call it Chianti and he wants to call it IGT Super Tuscan. Tenuta di Trinoro was one of my favorite. We're going to taste his younger brother, little brother, Le Stanze di Poliziano in Montepulciano, that we're going to taste tonight, and Vigorello. So the appellation, how these wines are categorized is Indicazione Geografica Tipica, typical geographic indication. That is very generic. It's a generic definition with lower regulation. So the wines are usually made with French grape varietals grown in Tuscany, obviously, aged from 12 to 24 months in French oak barrels. What is very misleading about this category, the IGT, is the price, because we can go in between €3 per bottle and €1,000 per bottle. I told you Masseto is the most expensive wine. We can go from a table wine till Masseto worth more than €1,000 a bottle. Sassicaia 1985, that I had the honor of having in my cellar, is worth more than €2,000, so €2,500 nowadays. So, but still is an IGT like any other table wine that can come from Tuscany. What makes a Super Tuscan? So from a generic IGT to a Super Tuscan, since there's no regulation, in order to reach the Super Tuscan status, a wine has to be made in Tuscany, obviously, and it has to be recognized as a fine quality wine by the international critics. So only a quality criteria defines it as Super Tuscan. You cannot make a wine and call it Super Tuscan from one day to another, because it has to be recognized as a high quality wine by, the international critics. So with the map of Tuscany, there was this, this dualism in between the coast or the inland, because the inland was already popular for making wine, because we were making Brunello di Montalcino, we were making Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, and we were making Chianti Classico in the inland. While in the coast, there were no wines, only this one, Morellino di Scansano, which is, don't get me wrong, it was just a beautiful everyday wine back in the days, Morellino. Now is higher, much higher quality wine nowadays. Morellino is a great wine, still Sangiovese based, but this side, the coast, was not in the game at all whatsoever, because Bolgheri, only potatoes were growing in Bolgheri, and horses, and they were breeding horses. Now is one of the finest regions for wine, So this is the wines that we're gonna taste today and where they're located. We're gonna see afterwards. So the wine by the coast are Bolgheri and Suvereto, now very popular, and also, Riparbella, the first wine we'll be tasting. And the renaissance of Chianti Classico through Super Tuscan. So Chianti Classico had a second life with Super Tuscans, because most of the Super Tuscans, especially at the beginning, they were growing in this particular Chianti Classico area. So the Super Tuscan, changed the game, because we were not talking only about Brunello or Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. We had new areas such as Cortona, for instance, which is now the area where we grow Syrah and Merlot as well. Val di Cornia, amazing area. Val d'Orcia, where Trinoro is, close to Pienza, San Quirico, this area in between Montepulciano and Montalcino, and Riparbella. And also there were some miracles. The miracle of Trinoro that we'll be analyzing after is one of the wines that we are tasting. Tenuta di Trinoro, wineries out of nowhere. So before they were making crops there, they were growing crops, and then all of a sudden it became a wine region by itself. So a brief difference, I don't want to bore you too much, between Super Tuscans and old school wines. So Super Tuscans are made with French grape varietals, mostly, while the old school wines are made with Sangiovese and his fellow grapes and friends. There are Colorino, Canaiolo, Mammolo, the wines that we always use to make Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, for instance. Super Tuscans, in vast majority of the cases, like 99.9%, is made in small barrel, French oak, while the old school wines are made in big barrel, Slovenian oak. So the result is that Super Tuscans are more flamboyant and intense, while old school wine are more lean. and they have probably more finesse and minerality as well. Super Tuscans are more fruit forward and oaky, while old school wines are more floral and less oaky. So Super Tuscan would be less acidic and more tannic, while old school wines will be more acidic and less tannic. And an important difference in between Super Tuscans and old school wines is that the Super Tuscan expresses the terroir, the quality of the terroir of the single vineyard where it is located and made. While the old school wines belonging to appellation, they stick into the rules of the terroir and the history and cultural heritage of a region. So a wine that is made in the Brunello appellation, it doesn't just represent only the label, the winery that makes it, the label of that particular wine or the vineyard where it's made, but represents the whole, Montalcino, Brunello di Montalcino appellation and the whole terroir. So it has to respect some rules. While the Super Tuscan is a complete freedom to express only the terroir of that particular single vintage. So the Super Tuscans are defined only by high quality standards, while the old school wines are defined by very strict rules and criteria. Okay, we're almost done, guys. Now we have two amazing guests coming within a few minutes. So this is the wine lineup of the night. Line them up. The first one is going to be Tenuta Prima Pietra, IGT 2016. Second one, Talosa IGT Pietrose 2015. The third one is going to be Le Cupole from Tenuta di Trinoro. The fourth one, Le Stanze from Poliziano. The fifth one, Tenuta San Guido, Guidalberto, the younger brother of Sassicaia. And the sixth one is going to be the grand finale, Grattamacco, Bolgheri Superiore, DOC 2015. You see, DOC because Bolgheri became DOC in 1994. But they're still considered Super Tuscans by the critics. Here I'm going to introduce our amazing guests. Special guest number one, Mr. Ugo Fabbri, brand ambassador of Tenuta Prima Pietra and Riparbella, and fine wine lover, experienced sommelier, and active social media influencer. You can look it online. He's a lot of fun to follow him. Hashtag Ugagnez. This guy is a lot of fun. You can see him jumping happy in the vineyard of Tenuta Prima Pietra. Special guest number two, Cristian Pepi from Fattoria della Talosa, top winemaker and sales manager of Fattoria della Talosa in Montepulciano. Vino Nobile enthusiast who recently discovered love for Super Tuscans. You can find him online on Instagram through Tavolo Cap. Okay, I think now, okay, do you see my ugly face now? Is it me now on the screen? Okay, perfect. I think we can introduce our guests, Ugo and Cristian. Are you online?
Yes.
There you are. Ugo. Ugo, where are you?
Please,
Cristian,
please, I'm here, but please, you have to enable my video.
Yes, but what if I don't want to see your ugly face?
Impossibile avere il video dato che è stato interrotto dall'ospite.
Sì.
I can hear you
problem.
now.
Sì.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
I can hear you.
Well,
now I can see Cristian. We'll see where you are. Ugo Fabbri.
Francesco.
Yes. Okay. Now I think
hello.
You should be. Yes.
Yeah. Ciao.
How are you doing, guys?
Very well, thank you. I mean, it's...
Very well after a good pizza, Ugagnez.
No, I didn't have pizza at the end because the pizzeria was closed.
No,
unfortunately,
Here was open.
It's an Italian tradition to have pizza on Sundays. Anyway, I had the best introduction ever. Thank you, Francesco.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, you're such an important social media influencer nowadays that I need to do things properly with you.
You're too kind. Thank you.
You have an image and a reputation to follow. Okay, so you see them. Cristian is a winemaker and sales representative of Fattoria della Talosa in Montepulciano.
Wine
Again,
drinker, mostly wine drinker.
yes, that's like we belong to the same category here. I think everyone online belongs to the same category. Tonight we have couples that are drinking 6 bottles of wine by themselves tonight. There you go.
I'm a wine drinker too, as you can see.
Okay, so I think I can ask a question to.
What's in your glass, Francesco? I see you.
I have 6 glasses.
Yeah.
If I start drinking now, this will turn into a disaster. I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay. Do you have water in your glass? Okay, it's water.
Yeah, because
Please
I'm
keep
talking a little bit too much.
Keep the bottles on the right for tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So, I will start with Cristian. Cristian from Fattoria della Talosa. So a lot of you people have been to Montepulciano, and I'm sure that most of you have visited the historical cellar of Fattoria della Talosa, which is beautiful, gorgeous, and unbelievable, right on the main square of the Piazza Grande, which is where my restaurant is located, right across the street. So if we weren't in lockdown, you would be there, and we would be basically next door. So Fattoria della Talosa is popular for its Vino Nobile, but in 2012 you started
2012, yes,
an amazing IGT. So what happened? Why did you make Pietrose?
Ciao Francesco, thank you for your invitation and nice to meet you to all of you. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. So it's very complicated history, but mostly, easier. Pietrose.
Yeah.
Very complicated history because Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, by the OCG rules, is a wine with at least 70% of Sangiovese and 30% other grapes, including some international grapes like Merlot, Cabernet, and the other ones like Chianti Style, Canaiolo, Mammolo, Ciliegiolo, Colorino. And then in the 80s, many producers in Montepulciano started to plant some international grapes because probably in the time, end of 80s, in the beginning of the 90s, was necessary to give to the public, to the persons, a kind of taste a little bit more internet, more around, like your description before, no? And in fact, probably some producers started to play too much with international grapes, and this is for probably today the problem of Nobile di Montepulciano, that from the northern area to the south area, it's a little bit complicated sometimes to understand who is the Sangiovese in Montepulciano. Mm-hmm. So then in the years, this problem looks like there is a reduction of this problem, absolutely. And the producers like Talosa started to discover in this land. Do you see what? Yeah. In our land, in Via delle Pietrose. I will show them. See that probably the Merlot that until 2015 was necessary to get a good Vino Nobile. Probably this Merlot was necessary to make another kind of wine that every year thanks the interaction. I love the terroir word, but it's too French word. It's too French.
Yeah, but still it's a concept that we can apply. It's a concept that we can apply. So, I mean, the fact that probably you saw that there was such a high quality for your Merlot. But we'll talk about your Merlot later. Because before I will introduce Ugo and Tenuta Prima Pietra, which is the first wine that we'll be tasting. So Ugo, you worked you work in Tenuta Prima Pietra, which is also owned by Massimo Ferragamo. 2 weeks ago, we had tasted Castiglione del Bosco. You worked at Castiglione del Bosco. You started there, and they saw you were really good in selling wine and explaining the wine as well to customers, both Americans, Italians from all over the world. And so what do you think about the difference in between the Super Tuscan and the Brunello di Montalcino, for example?
As you said earlier, first of all, I want to thank everyone. I also seen that someone already followed me on Instagram. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
I told you, your promotion, it's been amazing.
I'll be your manager.
As you said earlier, actually, the differences are, you know, the tradition and the new style, the modern style of wines. Of course, Bolgheri is a new area where, I mean, Incisa della Rocchetta made the history, actually created, you know, an area in no land, because it was an area for vegetables.
Yeah.
But actually now Sassicaia is the most popular Italian wine in the world.
It is by very far also.
Yeah. So it means that it was right. That land it's good for wine, and actually, so it was a gamble for him.
Yeah.
But he won it, and of course it's a new thing. It's more about, in my opinion, it's more about the winemaker. I mean, in the Super Tuscan, you have no rules, but it's the wine where you really see the hand of the winemaker, because you have like 4 or 5 different grapes to blend.
Yeah.
And it's more about what you do in the cellar. So it's more the winemaker that makes the magic. In the classic appellation that we have, you know, are almost based by Sangiovese, or like in Montalcino, it's 100% of Sangiovese. So you don't have actually the you know, space to.
It's more difficult for the winemaker to express, you know, because you only have to rely on the soil. You only have to rely on the grapes that you have in the plant. So probably Super Tuscans Super Tuscans also reflects the terroir where it's made, but it's a little bit easier to make a wine for a winemaker with skills. Of course, you need to be a good winemaker, obviously. But yeah, this is great. Thank you again very much for being online. I think we can start with the first wine. We can talk about Prima Pietra. So Ugo, just a small introduction. Massimo Ferragamo, you know, he fell in love with Prima Pietra. A little bit of history and background of the beautiful estate. I'm gonna show the pictures now.
Yeah, thank you. I wanna tell you the story about this land, because it's interesting. So Prima Pietra in Italian means first stone. So it's the first property that Mr. Ferragamo purchased in 2002 when he decided to invest in the wine business. Of course, he's involved in the fashion side, you know, the Salvatore Ferragamo brand. But in 2002, inspired by the great Super Tuscans like Sassicaia, he decided to create his own wine. And with a school friend that is Niccolò d'Affitto, that is the winemaker of Castelgiocondo, the Frescobaldi family, he went to Bolgheri to search some property available and to invest and create his property. And Niccolò told to Massimo, listen, Sassicaia is the most elegant and popular wine from Bolgheri because it's the highest. That altitude makes the wine more elegant, more acidity. And remember, you need the altitude to create the same, shape. In Bolgheri, there was no land available at that altitude. So they drove north, like 20 minutes northern than Bolgheri, and they actually land in Riparbella. That is a tiny village really, like, I don't know, 1,000 people live there, so it's very small. And they
There will be
found
beautiful views.
And as you can see in the picture, this was the old house. So it's an old villa that we restored, that you can see in the right picture. That is, now we have this great terrace with the view. We have a great view, as you can see in the picture on the top, on the left. So it's 450 meters above the sea level. That makes this property the highest in the Tuscan coast. And of course, they check the soil. We have an old volcano that is close by, and we have a very irony soil. So it was perfect for wine, for grapes.
Yeah.
So they decided to blend the 4 varieties that makes the blend for Prima Pietra. So Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. So he decided to produce just one wine at the beginning. As you know, the idea was to create his own wine. Just you are in the coast, and it was easy to produce a white wine, a rosé that is fancy, a cru reserve. But less is more. One wine, very well made. That was the idea that he had in his mind at the beginning.
And he had a huge success, because I mean, this necessity of finding a winery by the coast, it was a great idea that Massimo's friend suggested him to buy a winery in Riparbella, which was an area where not many wineries are there, only 3 wineries, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there are more, like 8, but very small. And actually, the 3 highest, so we are close next by Cagliarossa and Due Mani. Very good one. So I mean, I suggest to try if you have a chance, because they are very good. And being so high, it's very windy area. It's I mean, it's a cooler temperature if you compare to the Bolgheri area. So that makes the wine more elegant, more acidic, more drinkable, because
you can tell it's very approachable, very nice, beautiful minerality. But let's find out together. Let's taste the wine,
please.
Yeah,
because the goal is to kill the bottle. Actually, if you leave the wine in the bottle, that means that
it's true.
Good.
If you have a wine that you open and stays there for 3 days, it means it's not a good sign. Okay, just some technical facts about Tenuta Prima Pietra. So the grapes: 50% Merlot, 30% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Cabernet Franc, 10% Petit Verdot. So a classic Bordeaux blend with predominance of Merlot. Aging for 18 months in French oak, 50% of which brand new. Altitude, as you said, Ugo, 450 meters above sea level. The exposure is towards the sea, towards west, towards the Tyrrhenian Sea. The soil, pebble gravel and clay rich in iron. First vintage, as you say, 2007. Bottles weighed 40,000. 40% of alcohol, and price is 50 euros for the bottle. Okay, if you don't mind, I make the tasting. If I say something wrong, please interrupt me, and don't tell Massimo.
Go ahead.
The owner. Okay, let's see this wine. Amazing, beautiful. You were saying this beautiful elegance. Cristian, I'm sorry you don't have the wine, but I will leave.
I have Pietrose.
You have Pietrose. I will leave this bottle outside the door of the restaurant tomorrow, and when you go to work, you can pick it up.
Bravo.
Yeah? It's open with the corvin, so it's not oxidized.
Bravo.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Okay, so we start with the color. We analyze the color, which is a lively and bright red ruby. The livelihood is due to the acidity that you were talking about, because younger wine, they have this lively color. Older wines, the color is not as lively because they have lower acidity. They gain in complexity, but lower acidity. So let's see the nose. Extremely elegant, extremely clean, and very pleasant and intense as well. Beautiful intensity. You can see there's this, Bordeaux blend grapes, and you can feel the coast here. as well, this beautiful intensity, this beautiful complexity. So it's very well balanced. You have it all in the nose here, because you have these crunchy red berries, this crunchy red cherry due to the Merlot. So the Merlot comes in the fruits aspect of this wine. Then you have, you know, wild flowers, like a herbal side to it, like almost like rosemary and a little bit like Mediterranean scrub as well. This is where I smell the sea on this one. This herbal notes is due to the Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc, which are more herbal, a little bit more on the peppery side. This is lightly peppery. It's not too peppery like a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet Franc, but very well balanced, the pepperiness on this one, very well balanced with the fruit. So, you know, this is a perfect symphony of all the grapes that he has. It is a perfect symphony of the Bordeaux blend made in Tuscany, you know, with the Tuscan touch. And also tertiary notes of a little bit of coffee, a little bit of liquors, but it's not coffee. It's like, it's a very sweet note of coffee, a lot more like a cappuccino-ish. A lot of people will think I'm a weirdo now because I say these weird terms, but this is how we, you know, we describe wines among sommeliers. I don't want to sound presumptuous, but this is what I feel. Point later, everyone has his own, you know, criteria to analyze the wines, but I'm analyzing from an objective sommelier, boring perspective. So let's see the taste of it. Beautiful. The palate is extremely refined, very persistent as well. Beautiful acidity, the acidity you were talking about, it's there. It's not overwhelming, but it's well present, and you know, it's very pleasant though, which, you know, the acidity and the minerality, the saltiness, the savoriness, which is due to the iron in the soil, it's extremely pleasant and makes, you know, the finish is long lasting, very savory and very, this tannin is very creamy as well, very pleasant. So the tannin is the astringent side of the wine, the tannicity of a wine. This is very creamy, very gentle. The tannin is not too much, too overwhelming. So the wine is, you know, is vertical, extremely coherent as well, in between what I smell in the nose and what I feel in the mouth, with this, you know, explosion of red fruits, berries and cherry, you know. Very nice, very well done. This, I do wine pairing with music. I do wine pairing with music. The audience, the wine club audience knows that I do wine pairing with music. This is very jazzy, like a John Coltrane, like a beautiful, elegant jazz music and beautiful wine. I love this. I love this very much.
Thank you. I will just add two things. You were talking about the, you know, the pepper and of course the wine, in my opinion, express the varieties, so the fruit and also the altitude gives that smell of balsamic notes that are very rare for the Tuscan coast. And we use the 30% of new oak. The rest we use third use of barriques. That makes the wine, I mean the tannins and the oaky flavors very soft, because we want to protect the varieties. We want to protect the fruits, because we have to remember that the wine is made by grapes.
And this is a very Italian and Tuscan concept, no? That even though, like, for instance, we Italians, when we taste wines from Napa, we think that probably Napa Valley, the wines are a little bit too on the oaky side for our personal perspective, no? A little bit too much oaky side, while here it's always very well balanced. In the previous in the previous wine tasting, the Brunello wine tasting, I said that I'm like the Mr. Miyagi of wine. I like balance. I like when you have all the components are very well balanced. So I think this is perfectly balanced. This wine is just beautifully balanced. There's not too much fruit and too much oakiness on. It's just on the same beautiful level, and it's very well made. Very well made. I love this one.
Thank you very much, Francesco.
Cristian, well, you're not tasting the wine, the Prima Pietra, but do you like it?
Tomorrow, yes.
I
know very well Prima Pietra. Yes, tomorrow, don't worry. I don't think this is the 2015?
16.
Which is the vintage? 15? 16. Well,
16.
I have to taste it. Remember, Rugagnez?
Si.
Send a bottle to your friends.
Let's send a bottle. Unfortunately, I can't invite you home because we are locked down.
Yeah. Ugo, you're in Florence now, right?
I'm in Florence, yeah.
How is the situation in Florence?
Quiet.
Yeah. Empty.
Yeah, empty. Really, I live literally 50 meters by Ponte Vecchio, so the heart of the city, and it's
awful. You have an awful spot.
Illegal.
Yeah.
Illegal.
Yeah. So usually it's very, full of people and noises in the night. I mean, it's alive. It's the city.
Yeah.
Now it seems to be Montalcino, very quiet and it's unbelievable.
In Montepulciano, we don't notice the difference. Montepulciano is always quiet. Montepulciano is always boring. During the day, there's a lot of action going on. At night, Montepulciano is lame because it's true that Montepulciano and Montalcino, we get a lot of tourism, but the tourism is mostly couples or families that, they just don't go wild at night. They go to the restaurant, they go wild at the restaurant because they drink, they enjoy their holidays, their vacation, but they don't stay out celebrating. Like Florence,
party.
And then only the wolf.
And the parties that Ugo organizes with the Castellón del Bosco, staff.
Yeah, in 2022, let's say, because next year is not going to be the Benvenuto Brunello as usual.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But in 2 years, we're going to organize the BB party again. So
yeah, they organize.
Your guests are invited, your members.
Yes. So Castellón del Bosco, the Ferragamo-owned winery in Montalcino, and Prima Pietra, the Ferragamo-owned winery by the coast,
the same
one we're drinking now, is the same family. And they organize, when the preview of the Brunello is in Montalcino in February, they organize a huge party. And this year we went with some of the members of the wine club, our wine club. They were there, and it was a wild night for Montalcino's standards. So it was beautiful. Thank you for organizing that. I mean, you are keeping the Montalcino town alive. Okay, thank you, Ugo. Stay online with us, because if our audience have some questions, you be online with us, and then we go. Cristian, we go on to the second wine, Talosa, Pietrose. A Merlot.
This is the bottle. Same Merlot.
100% Merlot in Montepulciano. What happened? As you said, you were using this Merlot for Vino Nobile purpose before, and then now you're making 100% Merlot because the wine was so good.
The wine was so good because the interaction, the vines together, the soil in this moment, thanks to global warming, thanks many factors. But I think that the vines find a very nice balance around 20 years planted in the ground, and now
when
probably
20 years old.
20 old. Yes, probably when 20 years old. And this is probably the reasons that together the Talosa team, we decided in 2012, after one very warm vintage, because 2012 has been crazy, and thanks to our importers, mostly one from Germany, that push us to say, please guys, make impure it, because
100%
it's particular. It's particular, yes. And
There is
definitely
not many 100% Merlots in Montepulciano.
no.
It's difficult to find.
Very difficult to find. And then, but so Talosa is located northern face of Montepulciano, but it's totally south. The expedition is totally south, from 300 to 400 meters above the sea level, and the Merlot is about 330 meters above the sea level. And probably this is a very nice area to grow it. So Talosa, born in 1972, and there are 33 hectares of vineyards, 57 acres, and the 90% it's Sangiovese. The rest it's Merlot, and we have a little bit quantity of Canaiolo Nero, and the 3 local grapes to make a good Vinsanto, like Trebbiano Toscano, Malvasia, and Grechetto.
You have a beautiful Vinsanto as well, yes.
The beautiful Vinsanto. And so we are very lucky, but in Talosa, in località Pietrose, where the vineyards are located, you can see a couple of pictures, yes, very nice, close to San Biagio, da Montepulciano. This is the villa in the middle of the estate. We have only one problem, or probably our plus. It means that Talosa produce no more than 4,500, 5,000 kilos of grapes per hectare.
So low yield, high quality.
In 33 hectares, so the total production is approximately 100,000 bottles. And of Merlot, we produce no more than 2,600 bottles per year.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, you don't make big quantities, but you make high quality, which is.
I hope.
Yes.
I'm sure. No.
I'm telling you, I'm drinking your wine now, and I like it.
Very well.
Okay, let's go along with the tasting. Is it okay, Cristian?
See, go.
Okay. Well,
again, 5 seconds of delay.
Okay. So this is the villa that they rent. You can rent it. Look it online, Talosa. Look at the website, because the villa is just spectacular. This is the old cellar that is right next to Piazza Grande, the main square. And this is the historical cellar, which is, trust me, is mind-blowing. Is excavated in an Etruscan grave, in a tunnel excavated by the Etruscans 25 centuries ago. It was an Etruscan tomb, an Etruscan grave. And this is something that I've been traveling a lot in the wine regions, but Montepulciano is unique for this reason. The historical cellars, excavated under the tufa, underground, and the temperature is always the same. And these places are spectacular. And then the wines from Talosa are amazing, and people are amazing as well, the hospitality people as well. The cellar, the vineyards are located right in by the bottom of Montepulciano. Again, a little bit of technical details of this wine. 100% Merlot, altitude, as you said, Cristian, in between 350 and 400 meters above sea level. Aging 24 months in French tonneau. French tonneau is so barrique is 250 liters vessel. French tonneau is 500 liters vessel, so it's double the size of a barrique. The exposure is southwest on the northern side of Montepulciano. The soil, medium mixture of Pliocene origin, so very, very old. First vintage, as you mentioned, 2012. Bottles made only 3,000. Very limited production. Alcohol percentage, this is very generous. 15%, and price is going to be 59 euros per bottle. So here we are again. So Cristian, I will do the tasting and you correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay, let's see. The color is different from the one that we had before. This is like deep purple. Not like the rock band, but deep purple. You see the legs here are very purple. Typical of the Merlot. Merlot in warmer vintages has this kind of color. So let's see with the bouquet. wow, very intense. This is big, this is huge, very rich and flamboyant. I mean, there's a lot of flavors coming up, punching my face almost, which in a beautiful way though. Huge in fruit, you can tell the fruit of the Merlot. There's a huge maraschino cherry, like, you know, a jam of berries as well. Black currant, very like black and ripe currant. And also you have a note of dried apricot as well. You know what, like the dried apricot, when you dry the apricot, that kind of feeling that reminds me of this wine. And also, you know, it's balsamic, and there's a scent of like balsamic herbs, like of sage as well. And also a note of leather as well, a leathery kind of note. Beautiful, beautiful intensity, beautiful elegance of this wine. Yeah, just a little touch of leather, which is beautiful and perfectly integrated. So let's see the palate though. Big, huge, massive, muscular. This is like a bodybuilder punching you in the face. You know, the palate is fulfilling and overwhelming in terms of fruits. I have a lot of fruits as I speak now. Extremely smooth, which is typical. The smoothness is typical element of Merlot, and very gentle. With the tannin is, before the first one it was creamy. This one is silky because the tannin is softer, because there's no Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon has got that kind of punch to it. This one, the tannin is very soft and very, very refined, very smooth. You know, it's got the deep, long finish as well. I have this fruit into my mouth as I speak. More and more fruit come out, and great, beautiful Merlot. So you did a good job, Cristian.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean,
now the wine,
intensity.
I think, start to. And now I think the wine now start to give us a very nice taste. So now it's 2 years and a half in a bottle. So this kind of wine start to be much more elegant than in the beginning when we bottled. It was like a very muscle wine. See, a little bit rude too, huh?
Yeah.
But so this is the characteristic of our
now is great. Yeah. But also I think our land in general, you know, certain areas of Tuscany, especially Montepulciano, you know, Montalcino is like younger wines in Montalcino. Any kind of wine in Montalcino needs to be aged, because Montalcino has this roughness when it's young. And also Chianti Classico and Montepulciano. Our soils, you know, are very like this because there's a lot of minerals. So when the wines are young and they have higher acidity, this minerality sometimes is a little bit too punchy. But I think here we have a beautiful smoothness, a beautiful balance. I think music-wise, this is like Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon. Like a beautiful solo from David Gilmour, very smooth and, you know, fine, beautiful. Great. Okay. Yeah. Again, this is the wine Pietrose Talosa 2015. Let's see if we have any questions.
Please.
My question is, how many bottles behind of you? How many bottles you have behind of you?
I'm at the restaurant, Cristian. You eat here every week.
How many bottles?
See?
Oh no.
This is in case, you know, I just bought some extra wine in case of a second lockdown, and here we are again. Second lockdown it is. I have all these guys helping me out to overcome the difficult times. Okay, let's see. I have questions. No questions on Zoom. Okay. For the people that are watching this on Zoom, please You can activate your video if you want. You can activate your video.
Even if you're wearing your pajamas, it's no problem.
Yes, definitely. I'm actually wearing my pajama underneath. Oh, it's Jim and Steve. Hi, guys. I'm gonna activate your audio. We go with Jim. Hi there, how you guys doing?
Francesco.
Hi. You guys look amazing. How you doing?
Wow.
There we
Where
are.
are you?
Los Angeles.
Sorry.
Pasadena.
LA, Pasadena.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We
So do you
missed-
guys have any questions? You're having fun so far?
Great.
Loving the wines.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions for our two guests?
Not yet, maybe later.
Okay, perfect. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna deactivate your video. Okay. Down we have Steve.
Hello.
Steve,
Ciao.
where are you?
Hi.
Can you
I
hear
can
us?
see you. I can hear, but I cannot see you.
Yeah, we can't see you. We might try to dial back in one more time.
Okay.
Delicious.
Yeah. Okay, I have Carrie now. Carrie McDonough. Okay. Carrie, are you there?
Yeah, Carrie's here.
Okay. Then we have
How are
Peter
ya?
Jones as well. Okay, Carrie first.
Francesco, so the cap on this wine was like a glass. Why did he choose to steal it like that?
Is wax. Christian,
Really?
yeah, go ahead.
No, it felt the way it came off was
Wax.
almost like a glass.
Christian, what is this, Christian?
Is wax, non è la gomma, come si dice?
Wax.
Is wax. Is, sì.
C'era.
This is another
Okay.
extra protection.
Okay. All right.
So,
It just
For
was
four.
very different than all the rest. It was very different.
Sì,
yeah.
it's
Very
the
good.
original. It's
Very
the
good.
original. It's very hard to make
Yes.
It is.
because we need a lot of manual time. How come si dice Mara, mantenere la
So
temperatura. Keep
there's a lot
warm.
Okay, you have to keep
warm.
the wax.
Sì.
They're making this because I went to the winery and I saw how they make it, so I can also
Sì.
answer the question. First of all, you have a small production. You have 3,000 bottles, so you can do it. Think about a
Only by
production
hands.
that
We
is.
do by hands.
Think about a production of 100,000. That would be impossible, right? So you need to.
Impossible.
You need to melt the wax to keep it at the right temperature, and then you take the bottle, you bottle it with the cork, obviously, and then you dip upside down and you dip it down into the wax. And this, so Carrie, yours is a good question because nowadays in the wines now, and I blame Talosa for this because when I open this at the restaurant, I'm sweating bullets because it takes 10 minutes to do it. You had a hard time too, I guess.
And the wax go everywhere.
Yeah, the wax is just a mess.
It's all over.
Everything
Sorry.
clean.
It's all over our stick. Yes. Okay.
I want to apologize. I apologize.
No,
I
because
send
nowadays
you
you have this
a link.
you
of
have
the
this kind
video,
of wax.
how
You
to
have
make it.
you have the new wax now is with silicone a little bit, so with like different
Sì,
materials.
gomma, like
So there's a
that.
small percentage of
Gomma.
wax and some gum and and silicone as well. And that's it easier because it comes off. This one is a tough one. Good question.
It's good. All right.
Like belly gloss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Next
Thank
one
you.
is going to be Stephen. Hi, guys. Wait a second. I'm going to activate your microphone.
I
Yes.
sent you a Francesco, I sent you a video on Instagram on your
Yeah, but you're making things very difficult
private
now,
message.
because I don't know how
No,
to.
beh, for tomorrow. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, yes.
Tomorrow.
I will
How
send it. I will
how
send
to
it by
make
email.
it? Sì.
Yes. Okay, Steven. Hi, guys.
We figured it out.
Where are you?
We're in New Jersey.
All
Last year, this time, we were doing
Ciao.
a wine- we were doing a wine tasting with Francesco in Harlem, New York.
Yes. 1 year ago.
Very nice.
It was
1 year ago.
And we had this. Didn't you have this?
Actually, yes. Yes. I brought this.
You did bring that.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. So you're
Sorry.
tasting the wine for a second time.
Yes.
Still-
No, this is probably the third time because we definitely had it. Because I remember I went in there and I saw that right away.
Yeah.
Great, great event. Thank you so much for hosting and putting this together. So
Appreciate
hopefully next
it.
year when we come in June-ish, with my cousin's wedding, we'll come back over to Montepulciano and see you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, because Steven's family, they are, you usually come here quite often, right, to Italy, and you come to Montepulciano and you stay in our B&B.
Yes.
Yep.
We would have been there in December, but obviously everything.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're moving the wedding right now to June, so we'll see it.
Yeah.
And Rome in June, and then we'll come up to Montepulciano with everything.
We are very much looking forward. Well, first of all, I mean, seeing you guys. Well, you're really good friends of mine, and I would love to see you again here in Montepulciano, because this will mean that this is finally over.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah.
becoming tough. I mean,
It's
tougher and
tough.
tougher.
Tough. Like you said, you have your friends behind you. We have our friends lined up here.
Yes.
And,
This is what we need now. This is what we need, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
gaining
This is the
about
best.
pounds though. The COVID weight,
Yeah.
COVID-10,
The
not
COVID-10.
COVID-19.
COVID-20.
So you guys have any questions in general for our guests?
No, we just generally love. I heard about this party though. I didn't know about this party. We weren't, it
You're
sounds like
invited.
a celebration.
You're invited. You come in February. Next time you guys come in February, and we'll have fun.
Right.
It's fun.
These guys look like a lot of fun. So
Yes, they're a great team. The synergy, like I was saying 2 weeks ago about Castiglione del Bosco, which is the same winery owned by the same owner, and it's the same team. The wine that we are tasting now, Prima, Pietra, and Castiglione del Bosco Brunello, they have a great team, full of energy, and this energy, you can feel it in the wines, the quality and the energy and the attention of details that these guys have. You can feel it in the wine, and it's amazing. So yeah, Castiglione del Bosco and Prima Pietra are doing an amazing job. Well, thank you very much, Stephen.
thank you.
Our
Wow.
other
cousins
half
are
of
there.
our family
They're right
is
there. I
under
see
Peter
their
Jones.
Peter Jones.
Yes. Oh yeah, I know. We go to the other half of the family. Peter, how you doing?
Thank you.
This is
It's you guys. You guys are live.
Steve is the gourmet chef. I assure you, their group is eating better than ours, but we're all loving the wine.
Yeah, but you drink faster, right?
Yes, that's right. We drink faster and therefore enjoy it more.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions for our guests, for our special guests?
I don't know. Yeah, we're not the special guests. No, you know what? We're all enjoying it and we're learning a lot. I'll be quiet and listen. You guys just go on. Thank you. So much.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it very much. Thank
so
you,
much.
Stephen. Thank you, Peter.
We actually have one quick question. The
Sure.
white Super
Yeah,
Tuscan.
Steve. Yeah.
I've never heard of or never seen a white Super Tuscan.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna disappear. I go to the fridge. I go pick it. I have it on the fridge at the restaurant. Just 1 second.
Sorry for the curveball, the culinary curveball, the wine curveball.
Batà.
Yeah, he's gonna bring Querciabella for sure.
Ta-da.
T'ho beccato, Mara?
Yes.
Sì.
That one. I don't find it.
Francesco, don't worry. Empty bottle is the same. Maybe you have
No, I will send you the link.
under
It's
the table.
Batar Querciabella from the winery Querciabella. And I have a photo we also have some bottles from 1998 of Querciabella, which is The
It
Batard,
was
the
in your
wine.
picture of the Hall of Fame in the.
Yes, yes. You are off. You're a genius, Ugo.
No, you're too kind.
Oh, okay. Well, this is too okay. This is too complicated.
Maybe the new Ornellaia is there is an Ornellaia Bianco, no? Maybe it's considered super
Ah,
Tuscan.
bravo, sì.
Eh?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
The new
but
one.
I
The
will
new
show
one.
you, Stephen. I will show you because Super Tuscan is a concept. The concept of Super Tuscan again is that you have complete freedom. You can do whatever you want. So Querciabella, this first white Super Tuscan, they were the first ones to age white wine into French oak barrels and to make a white wine that could last for a very long time. I told you we have 1998 in the cellar. Oh, thank you, Mary. 1998 in the cellar now, available. No, you can see. I'm sorry. No, you can see it. Okay, this is becoming a shit show. I'm sorry. But the concept that you could age a white wine is something very new. That in France it was something that we're already doing. In Tuscany, the white wine was like an everyday wine almost. Now we have this wine that can age for a very long time. So Super Tuscan is not just red, but it can be white as well. Okay, thank you guys very much. We go along with the. Thank you, Stephen. Okay. Ugo and Cristian, grazie
Thank you,
mille.
Francesco.
Thank you, guys.
Grazie mille.
Thank you so much.
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you and to have two amazing people, really good friends of mine and very knowledgeable people. Thank you. Your wines are spot on, amazing.
Grazie.
And thank you very much.
Grazie, grazie.
Ciao.
Enjoy your tasting, guys. Ciao.
Yeah.
Hope to see you soon.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Enjoy.
This is becoming a one-man show now.
Ciao.
It's only me and my bottles. So, let me see if I can adjust the video. Okay, third wine. Come on, guys, we can do it. I'm gonna share the screen and I'm gonna show you. The winery Trinoro. This is Talosa again. Okay, this is the map. And Tenuta Trinoro is right here in the heart of Val d'Orcia, the Orcia Valley, which is the most beautiful part of Tuscany by very far. Almost in between Montepulciano and Montalcino. You see, in this area, Trinoro is created something magic because it's a winery that was born from scratch, a winery that was born from out of nowhere, pretty much, because no one was making wine in that particular area. My whole family, from part of my father, that were born within this beautiful site that you see now, they were very lucky, even though they didn't know and appreciate the beauty they had around. But no one had ever made a wine here in Trinoro area. So this is a unique exception of an amazing wine that was made in an area where no one had ever dared to make wine before. So yeah, this is Tenuta di Trinoro. This is the vineyard of the wine that we're drinking, Le Cupole, the lowest side of the estate. Beautiful. This is the highest where they have the cruise, the single vineyards. And the one that I'm pointing now, this guy right here is the Amiata mountain, the highest mountain that we have in our area. That is very important also for Brunello di Montalcino, for many wines in Tuscany, because it regulates the weather as well in that particular area. And this is the most beautiful, my favorite part of Tuscany. So as I was saying, my family, for part of my father, they were born and raised like here, in this area, and then they moved here in Radicofani. When my grandmother and my grandfather, they moved to Montepulciano a few years before I was born. My mother, and this is nothing to see with the wine tasting, but whatever. My grandmother was seeing streams of tourists coming to Montepulciano and to Tuscany. And she was wondering why these people would come to see Montepulciano. Because Montepulciano's got ugly old buildings that are falling apart. Like, take the cathedral, the Duomo. The Duomo di Montepulciano, the cathedral, doesn't have the facade. The facade is not finished, so it's very rustic. So my grandmother associated the fact that the cathedral didn't have the facade to the fact that it was falling apart, but it's a beautiful building that people from all over the world appreciate. So she was born here. When I told her once that I was doing an event where she was born, in the villa where she was born, she was a farmer, she wouldn't believe that people would come from all over the world to see the Valdorcia, this part. She said it was ugly because the only parameter she had for the beauty of a land, it was that if you could grow wine or potato or vegetables. She said that only crops can grow in the Valdorcia. And this was the scenario for the Valdorcia, up until a gentleman came into the picture, Mr. Andrea Franchetti, who is the owner and winemaker of the winery Tenuta Trinoro. So Tenuta Trinoro, IGT Le Cupole 2018. Grapes, the blend is 40% Cabernet Franc, 37% Merlot, 13% Cabernet Sauvignon, 10% Petit Verdot. Altitude is in between 450 and 600 meters above sea level. Aging of the wine, 8 months in French oak and concrete cement. Exposure, southwest, facing the Amiata mountain and the Valdorcia, the one that you saw. Soil is limestone, clay, and rocks, mostly. There are a lot of rocks. It's a very difficult soil to work. Also because the highest side of Trinoro is very steep, but the wines are just unbelievable. First vintage, 1995. Bottles made 70,000, alcohol percentage 15%, and price 38 euros. Okay, you see my face now? Sip of water. And we go on with the tasting of the third amazing wine that we have, this is as I told you, the miracle of Trinoro. Andrea Franchetti, the owner, he studied in Bordeaux for a long time, in the best estates, working along with the best winemakers of Bordeaux. And he came to Italy. They had this little estate in Tuscany. He saw the potential of it because he saw the soil, which is limestone, rocks, very similar to some parts of Bordeaux as well. So he said, why not? Let's give it a go. Let's plant the grapes that I'm familiar with, that I think will grow in this particular soil, because that soil is not good for Sangiovese. It's good for Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Cabernet Sauvignon, and Petit Verdot. So he had the vision. He saw the potential of that area. And he brought these wines at the beginning to the most important merchants in Bordeaux that he met when he was working in France. And it was all of a sudden a success, an area where no one had made wine before. He was making these amazing Supertuscans. Now, these two wines, Le Cupole, the one we're drinking, but in particular, the cru, this one, Tenuta Trinoro. You know what the price point per bottle is of this one? More than 300 euros. So it's not a cheap everyday wine. So it's a wine that was recognized by the critics, the international critics, as amazing wine, and it is an amazing wine. But so this younger brother Le Cupole can give you a big touch of the greatness of this winery. So let's give it a go. Let's analyze the color first of all, which is a deep red ruby. Yes. Deep red ruby, a little bit more transparent than the other ones, probably because this wine, being younger, has got a little bit higher acidity. But this is what I suppose from just watching, from just looking at the glass. So the smell, this one is very intense too. All Supertuscans are very intense. Nice, beautiful. A lot of dark fruits, like blackberry, plum, blackcurrant as well, like dark fruits, very ripe, beautiful. And also you have peppery notes due to the Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc here's got this kind of peppery notes of, Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc. Well, Cabernet Sauvignon has peppery notes of like a red pepper sometimes. Cabernet Franc, a little bit higher notes of like a bell pepper or like green pepper, like a green pepper, a little bit more peppery. So this is quite peppery, but beautifully integrated with the fruits. It's got some licorice side to it, and also some earthy notes, and also like a dark chocolate, a little bit chocolatey. Beautiful. This is amazing. See the palate. Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. The mouth is perfect. Great quality. There's a initial sweetness due to the Merlot. So you feel the Merlot in the beginning, this smoothness, but then you have this layered evolution with this savory aroma, like very savory, salty. The saltiness was just due to the limestone and, rockiness of the soil. And also the tannin is very creamy. This is young and vibrant. This is the most acidic wine that we'll be tasting today because it's younger, but this acidity is beautiful. It makes me, my taste buds are just in full joy with this beautiful acidity. I could drink a ton, like 10 bottles of this wine right away. I love it because this very vibrant, this beautiful acidity, this minerality, this savoriness, the saltiness are just perfect. This is on the young side. Of course, it's younger than the ones that we've tasted, but it's got incredible aging potential. I think this has got really long shelf life as well. I think, 20, 30, 40 years, but 20 years easily, 30, 40 years as well. A great value as well. This is a great value and amazing wine. I love it. I'm in love with Trinoro and Mr. Andrea Franchetti's winery. Also, for the ones, the wine club members, the shipment in April, you had some wines from Sicily, Passo Pisciaro. Mr. Andrea Franchetti, after he created this winery, he created also that winery in Etna. He was one of the first people external from Sicily to invest, to see the potential of the Etna area, winemaking area. So, the guy is a visionary genius. And besides being a great winemaker, in terms of handling the wine, of picking the grapes at the right time, he has a vision of what can a land achieve in terms of wine. So yeah, congratulations. Music wise, this will be like, I don't know, I think Mr. Franchetti was very rebellious when he started. So the first song that comes to my mind is Rebel Rebel by David Bowie, which is my favorite artist ever existed in music. So Rebel Rebel by David Bowie. So great job. I'm gonna drink another sip of it. Cheers. Beautiful. Okay, I drink a sip of water. We go on to the fourth wine. The fourth wine, which is Le Stanze by Il Poliziano, 2016. You don't see very well with this camera. I don't know why, but yeah, Le Stanze Poliziano. This is from Montepulciano, another wine from Montepulciano. So we basically tasting something that's made very close by from where I am now, about 2 or 3 kilometers easily. Okay, let's share the screen, and I'm gonna show you the estate of Poliziano. Okay, yeah, we are here, obviously, where Talosa is. Poliziano on the probably southern eastern side of Montepulciano. Yeah, this is the estate of Poliziano. This is the new cellar they built. This is the whole estate with Mr. Carletti's house and all the vineyards surrounding, right at the bottom of Montepulciano. This is the barrique cellar, you see a lot of small barrels, French oak barrels, like all of them. This is an older picture probably because nowadays Mr. Carletti nowadays reintroduced the big barrels, especially for their Rosso di Montepulciano and Vino Nobile. But the Supertuscan is still aged in a small barrel, and this is the fermentation tanks of the winery with the logo of Poliziano. This is nothing to see with the wine tasting, but when I was 17, I've painted this cellar, this white. It's a stupid comment. There's nothing to say with it, but still, I just say it. I'm alone now. I can say whatever I want. Let's go with the technical details of this wine. Poliziano IGT Le Stanze 2016. 90% Cab Sauv, 10% Merlot. Altitude is 250, 350 meters in between, above sea level. Aging 16 months in French oak barrique, some of them brand new, some of them second or third passage. Exposure, which is various because they have spots in different sides of Montepulciano, but mostly facing southwest. The soil is silty clay and rocky soil, typical from Montepulciano. The first vintage, this wine and I, we were born together. So cheers to that. 1987, the great year. Actually, was the most awful year of the last century, probably, for wine, 1987, but it's another story. Even for sommeliers, it was a bad year. Bottles made 18,000, alcohol percentage 14%, and price is going to be 47 euros. Off we go with this amazing wine. So the owner of the winery is Mr. Carletti. Oh, just a nice thing about history and culture of Montepulciano. Poliziano, the name of the winery. Poliziano is the name of the inhabitants of Montepulciano, Poliziani. I am Poliziano, Mary is Poliziana, and together we are Poliziani. So the acronym for people that live in Montepulciano. But it was the name of the most important poet of the court of the Medici family during the Renaissance. So the most important poet of the Renaissance was Mr. Michelangelo Ambrogini, called Il Poliziano because it was coming from Montepulciano. That was the best friend of Lorenzo de' Medici. So still nowadays, after 600 years, there's some gossip going on, and they say that Michelangelo Ambrogini and Lorenzo de' Medici, which was, the president of the Republic of Florence, they were lovers. But this is a rumor, is not confirmed. But still, after 500, 600 years, we're still talking about some rumors and gossip of the Renaissance. So the name Le Stanze is taken by the most important poem that the poet had written, dedicated to Lorenzo de' Medici. Therefore, the wine is dedicated to the poet Michelangelo Ambrogini. So the color, red ruby, like very, very intense, deep red ruby. You cannot see, not transparent at all. See the nose. Nice intensity. This is intense as well. Not as flamboyant, obviously, as the Merlot from Talosa, which is the reference that we've tasted from Montepulciano, but very intense as well. Beautiful intensity and extremely complex. There's a lot of layers to this particular wine. So, I smell the maraschino cherry and red currants as well. A lot of red currants, like red fruits as well, like red berries as well, very ripe. A potpourri of dried flowers as well is here, like a floral note to it. And there's also like an earthy note, so earthy notes of forest as well. So a wild note that I like very much in this one. And also spices of tobacco and leather, which is typical of certain barrels as well, and typical of the soil of Montepulciano as well. The wines that can taste a lot like tobacco and leather as well. Slightly peppery because predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon, but not too peppery, not as peppery as the previous one probably. Let's give it a go. Let's try it. Beautiful. Very salty, very mineral. Palate is vibrant, with beautiful acidity, very bright acidity. The tannin is firm. You can feel the tannin of the Cabernet Sauvignon. Quite almost astringent on the tip of my tongue and on my lips, on the inside of my lips. I can feel the astringency of this wine, which is beautiful. You have to picture this wine with, I don't know, game, wild boar, this kind of food that needs some tannin and structure as well. That would be perfect. So very pleasant acidity, firm tannin and minerality, saltiness, beautiful long finish, but I feel the minerality to it. The rocky soil, I feel the savoriness. It's almost salty, salty finish, extremely pleasant. All these components. It might sound gross that I say it smells like tobacco and leather and earth, and it's salty and it's tannic, astringent. All the components are incredibly well balanced. So this sounds like a compliment, the whole thing, and it's a good compliment because I love this wine. It's really, really good. So this one is more like Janis Joplin. This like savoriness, the salty aspect is like Janis Joplin, Cosmic Blues, one of my favorite songs. That comes to my first songs that come to my mind. Yeah. If you have any question in the chat, you can just write it down. I don't see any questions. Okay. I go on with the 5th wine. I hope some of you guys will be drunk already. I'm not drinking it all, I'm spitting. As I said in the previous wine tasting, we sommeliers sometimes we do this thing that is very gross because it's very gross to spit out the wines. But when we go to the wine tastings, before COVID at least, it's easy. Like everyone does that. Everyone scoops the wine. Because you cannot drink 100 wines and swallow the whole thing. Otherwise, you get intoxicated and they will call the ambulance and they will bring you to the hospital, most of the cases. But I mean, when we taste the wines, we just sip them, we scoop them out, but then we are among friends, like when I have dinner with Ugo and Cristian, we just drink it all straight from the bottle sometimes. Okay, 5th wine. I've been talking a lot about Sassicaia. And this is its younger brother, Guidalberto. Guidalberto 2017. Is the younger brother of Sassicaia, made in Tenuta San Guido, in the same winery. I'm gonna share the screen so you can see the photos of the winery. Yes, we are located right by the sea. Before Tenuta Prima Pietra, Riparbella is here, northern side of Bolgheri. Bolgheri is located right by the coast. This is Bolgheri, yeah? This is the estate, the iconic estate. As I told you before, it was a farm for, just for the family. It was a summer retreat for the Incisa da Rocchetta family. And it was the place where they would breed horses as well, the very important horses that they were bringing to the races. So this is the cellar. Look at this. This caveau is unbelievable. This is, if I have to make an evaluation about this, is probably €500,000. Because Sassicaia, especially vintage Sassicaia, is becoming more and more expensive by the day. It's unbelievable. And this is the barrique cellar with the barriques of Sassicaia. And this is the soil. Sassicaia means the land with a lot of stones. So the soil is very rocky. Ideal for Cabernet Sauvignon, because one thing that I didn't say is that French wines, mostly, predominantly Bordeaux blends, because Bordeaux wines were the first ones to be exported all over the world. They were the first example of wine that was exported and sold to the most important people of the 18th and 19th century, the most important restaurants of the world, the most important wine distributors. So Bordeaux didn't just export the wines, they exported the grapes and the winemaking culture as well. Think about Napa Valley. Which kind of grapes do you have? Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot. Then you have Zinfandel, you have other grapes, but the first ones were the Bordeaux grapes. Think about South America. They have Bordeaux grapes because they exported them from Bordeaux, they exported them in South America, in Australia as well, in South Africa as well. And the same happened in Tuscany, you know, since the market was requiring this kind of Bordeaux blend, Sassicaia was the first one to offer it, and it was a big success. So, as I said, Tenuta San Guido, IGT, Guidalberto 2017, grapes 60% Cabernet Sauvignon, 40% Merlot. Altitude in between 100 and 200 meters above sea level. Aging is 15 months in French oak and American oak. This is something brand new. We don't see American oak in Italy very often. So this is something quite innovative. Exposure is southwest. The soil is clay and rocky, clay and rocks, as I told you, and Galestro as well. There's some Galestro size that we elaborated 2 weeks ago when we talked about Montalcino, Brunello di Montalcino, which is a mixture of clay and marl and rocks. The first vintage of Guidalberto was in 2000s when the Marchese Inciso della Rocchetta decided to, you know, because before they were making only Sassicaia, so they decided to make a younger brother more affordable to get the greatness of this beautiful winery to a more vast audience. Bottles made is an assumption that I make about 200,000 because they don't release official numbers. They're very strict about the number of bottles. No one knows how many bottles of Sassicaia are made nowadays. Which is very surprising considering it's the most popular wine, but they keep this secret for themselves. Alcohol percentage 13.5% and price is going to be 47 euros. Okay, let's taste it. Yes, the question, let me see. Steven, you should start pre-select the music playlist for each wine. Yeah, but with me talking music and everything else, this is gonna become difficult to follow. But yes, you're right. I should make playlists for the wine pairings I do with music. That's a good idea, Steven. Thank you very much for that. Okay, we go with this one. You know, the color is Intense Red Ruby. Intense Red Ruby, this one too. Let's smell it. Beautiful, as well as the other ones, very intense, beautiful intensity. But this one is incredibly elegant, The bouquet is just fine and perfectly balanced with, you know, you have ripe fruits, which are berries, like red currants as well, and ripe cherry, maraschino cherry as well, like cherry and the spirit as well of the Merlot side of it. But also here you have a peppery note of the Cabernet Sauvignon. You have this kind of spiciness, this pepperiness, which is typical of the Cabernet Sauvignon, of you know, red pepper. Slightly chocolatey as well and earthy. You have beautiful earthiness here as well, very earthy. Typical intensity of the warm 2017 vintage, which was one of the warmest vintage, the warmest vintage ever recorded. So in warm vintages, the aromatic compounds of the grapes that develop perfectly with beautiful aromas, but sometimes the wine struggled in terms of acidity because, you know, the grapes they had problem getting to a perfect ripening because there was lack of water in 2017. It was a very difficult year, but since Tenuta San Guido is outside of any appellation, they can irrigate as well, which is something that we cannot do in the appellations here. In the Vino Nobile, in the Brunello, and the Chianti, you cannot irrigate. So this makes the job more difficult when you cannot irrigate. But probably they irrigated, and I mean, beautiful, perfectly balanced. The palate, though, extremely long and deep, beautiful deep finish, big wine, beautiful wine. I mean, here, this wine was made to get to a more vast audience a gist of the greatness of this soil, of this terroir, of the Sassicaia, of the older brother, this guy right here, the Sassicaia. But I think they managed perfectly to keep that kind of greatness in this wine as well. Of course, Sassicaia will be more incredible, more unbelievable, but I mean, the price is probably nowadays 8 times lower. Sassicaia now is like 350 euros. This is still very affordable. Is a great wine that you can drink. You have this beautiful quality on this one as well. The palate is beautiful with overwhelming flavors. The same flavors that I smelled are present in my mouth as well, which coherence in between what you smell and what you taste is one of the most important factors for a really high quality wine. And this one is extremely coherent, extremely precise as well. Very acidic because there's a big acidity, kind of like, you know, when you eat pomegranate and you have that kind of acidity of a pomegranate, this acidity reminds me like a pomegranate acidity that reminds me of that beautiful fruit, one of my favorite fruits. The mouth is very balanced and elegant. The tannin is still firm, but beautifully integrated with the wine. Still very young. Still, this one can go for 20, 30 years easily, but still beautiful. I mean, the wine is very, I would say, seductive, lascivious, voluptuous, which is adjective you shouldn't use for a wine, but this is how I feel it. I mean, this is seductive wine to me. Almost like, Jim Morrison's voice, very warm, very seductive, voluptuous. So come on, baby, light my fire. This is the song that I compare this wine with. Beautiful, beautiful job by one of the most iconic estates that we have in Italy. I'm going to drink another sip of this, if you don't mind. Cheers. Okay. I drink a sip of water and then we go on to the last wine. I can't believe I've been talking for 2 hours. Mary, I've been talking for 2 hours. Yeah. All people will be asleep now. Sixth wine, Grattamacco, the grand finale. Another amazing wine coming from the coast, from Bolgheri, very close to where the previous wine was made. So the Tenuta San Guido estate obviously opened the door for all other estates in Bolgheri, which nowadays is one of the most appreciated areas, winemaking areas in not just in Italy itself, but in the whole world. You can see Grattamacco is located right here, close to Tenuta San Guido, obviously. I'll show you a few pictures of the estate, which is a very beautiful estate, right by the sea. This picture is probably taken towards north. Yeah, you don't see the sea in here. But this is the estate of Grattamacco. This is the cellar of Grattamacco. You see, it's located pretty higher up in altitude. It's not just on the sea level. And this is the wine cellar, which is obviously small barrels, French oak. Okay, so the technical sheet of this wine, Grattamacco Bolgheri Superiore DOC 2015. Why is this not an IGT? Because Bolgheri became an appellation. In 1994, it was granted the DOC appellation, which is the second highest appellation, because they just required to make an appellation. They wanted to go out, didn't want to be considered Supertuscan anymore, so they made their own appellation. But the previous wine is an IGT, because Sassicaia has their own DOC, which is Bolgheri DOC Sassicaia. And this is Bolgheri Superiore DOC. Grapes are 65% Cabernet Sauvignon, 20% Merlot, 50% Sangiovese. Grattamacco estate, they were the first ones to bring Sangiovese to the coast. Altitude is 100 meters above sea level. Aging is 18 months in French barrique, French barrels. Exposure southwest, facing south and also the beautiful Tyrrhenian Sea. Soil is sandy and calcareous soil. First vintage of Grattamacco, which was purchased by the owners in 1977. The first vintage was 1982. Bottles made 27,000. Alcohol percentage 14.5, price 75. So this is more pricey than the others. Okay, that's my ugly face again. Here we go, Grattamacco 2015. Another intense red ruby color. This is a slight more transparent. You can see through the glass a little bit. This is because it's got Sangiovese on it. So Grattamacco, one of the most iconic estates in the coast of Tuscany, one of the most important ones. The first one to use Sangiovese in Bolgheri, as I told you. So let's smell the wine. Wow. This one is extremely elegant, the most Cabernet one of all. Here on a blind tasting, I will pick the Cabernet just right away because this kind of peppery note is typical of the Cabernet Sauvignon. This is the most peppery among the one that we tasted. Extremely beautiful, elegant, refined. You have notes of like a juicy blackcurrant, wild strawberries, and wild rose as well. Like it's very wild. I'll show you the picture before. It's close to a forest. I believe that forests, wines made close to a forest, they're influenced by the forest because a lot of time you have in a wine that is made close by to other trees and other forests, you have hints of like wet, like earth, wet soil, and mushroom, and like leaves that fall in autumn as well. So this is very wild rose, and it's got nuances of like Mediterranean scrub, like rosemary as well. It's beautiful, but very balsamic. A beautiful Cabernet Sauvignon. And this peppery note is very well balanced. And you have notes of coffee as well, which is very delicate and elegant. Again, it's not like deep coffee, but it's more like a cappuccino-ish kind of note. Beautiful, beautiful. See the palate. Beautiful. Obviously, all the wines we tasted are amazing to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked them. The palate is majestic, it's powerful, muscular, but at the same time, it's very elegant and balanced. There's a beautiful balance to it. Pure perfection. Pure perfection. Very intense start, and then you have this beautiful acidity that is always incredibly well balanced. And savoriness, very savory, very mineral as well. We have a lot of savoriness. It's very salty as well. With a firm tannin. The tannin here is firm. I mean, I can feel it. Creamy, not too aggressive, not too grippy, but I can feel it not in the tip of my tongue, but in the center, like here. Here. And in my lips as well. But it's very creamy, very well integrated, balanced with the structure, perfectly integrated here as well. Roasted meat with this one, like a Fiorentina steak with rosemary on top, with the beautiful rosemary smell. I think it's pure perfection. I think this is the best pairing. You're in heaven. You're in heaven with this beautiful pairing. So yeah, and also as long as I speak, I still have in my mouth all this, blackcurrant, all these like fruits and savoriness. Is an effluvium of currant, berries, and also a little bit of dark chocolate as well, which is very nice. A wine of, incredible aging potential and incredible quality as well. A wine that can compete hands down with the best Napa, with the best Bordeaux. easily. It's a wine of finest quality. Of course, the price is a little bit higher than the others. The price doesn't necessarily justify the quality of a wine, because I've tasted wines in my life, and especially with the Supertuscans. And I have to be a little bit critical about this aspect of some Supertuscans. Some of the wineries, they make a wine, they say, okay, I created a Bordeaux blend and same quality as, they say Sassicaia. Oh, it's the same as Sassicaia. The wine, the same quality as Sassicaia. So the first year they released the wine into the market, boom, the price, 300 euros. To justify the price, such a high price, you need history, you need a background, you need a wine that, has this history. Solaia 1995, this bottle is amazing, and this can last for 20 years. To justify this price, you need a background, you need history, you need actual quality. So sometimes in the Supertuscans, there are some of the Supertuscans, the prices are insanely high, and there's not really a reason for them to be this high, to be honest. But this 75 euros for this bottle, I think it's well worth it. I think it's, if you want to buy a wine for a special occasion, I think it's well worth it. Okay, I drink another sip of this one. I remind you about the upcoming events. So you're in time to register for the Amarone class. I'll be sending the wines on Tuesday. So the sooner you let me know, the better. We have 6 amazing Amarone. Actually, we have 1 Amarone. Sorry, we have 1 Valpolicella Ripasso, 4 Amarones, and 1 Recioto, dessert wine. Amazing masterclass about Valpolicella with an amazing guest, Camilla from Massimago, great winery. And in December 13th, we have the Barolo and Barbaresco masterclass, which is going to be amazing as well. We'll be talking about old school versus new school in terms of winemaking in the Langhe area. And in December 27th, we have the Chianti Classico and Vino Nobile, which is going to be the last event of 2020 to close this awful and shitty year in style, like we can do, like drinking wine and chatting with amazing friends. So I recorded this. I recorded this version, this video that you can find online on YouTube at Osteria del Borgo channel, and also on Facebook, Perbacco Wine Club. Don't forget to follow Perbacco Wine Club on Instagram, and you can buy the next masterclasses by joining here the website www.perbaccomontepulciano.com/masterclasses, or write me an email, perbaccomontepulciano@gmail.com. You can write me an email. A lot of you guys have joined this wine tasting. A lot of you guys are joined also the next ones, the following ones, and I'm overwhelmed. And if you guys want to be online, if you have any questions to ask, again, I'm opening the chat. We have any questions, Mary? So again, just to sum up what we said, we talked about the Supertuscans, and we analyzed the phenomenon of Supertuscan, how Supertuscans, from scratch that were born in the 60s, and how now they became some of the most appreciated and popular wines made in Tuscany. And I hope you enjoy it, and really, oh, wait a second, the price list, the most important thing for me. I need to make a living, you guys. Okay, so this is the price list. So as you, the members of the wine club, you guys know very well, we do free shipping to the USA. So the price of the wine, the first one, Tenuta Prima Pietra, 50 euros. The second wine, Talosa Pietrose, 59 euros. There are no many bottles of the 2015. So we might have whether 2013 or 2016, which is the new vintage, because we're just running out of 2015. Tenuta Trinoro Le Cupole 2018, 39 euros. Poliziano Igt Le Stanze 2016, 47. Tenuta San Guido IGT Guidalberto 2017, 47 euros. On this one, we have both 17 and 2018 available. Grattamacco Bolgheri Superiore DOC 2015, 75 euros. Here you have the deals. If you buy the 12 bottles combined, so 2 bottles for each wine, 590 euros. 12 bottles of your choice minus 5% discount. 24 bottles of your choice, 10% discount. 36 bottles or more, I will clean your house for a week, which is the same deal I've offered to to the previous class. Let's see the chat online. Who's online? Carrie McDonough, Francesco. Thank you, my friend. Carrie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. As I told you 2 weeks ago, I don't take this beautiful kindness for granted. I work my ass off in my daily life. Mary and I and all the people working at the Perbacco, we work our asses off in order to deliver the best possible service. Because again, if we are still alive after this lockdown and this awful year with the restaurant, I mean, we had a really good summer with the restaurant, but now we are obviously closed. We cannot open. If we survive as a business, is 95% thanks to the members of the wine club and for the incredible support. So thank you guys very much. I hope that you are enjoying these master classes, these virtual tastings. We'll do more and more of those. I want you guys to learn everything about wine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Cristian from Talosa. Ciao e grazie per la splendida serata. Thank you very much, and thank you for the beautiful evening. Thank you, Cristian. Thank you, Ugo from Tenuta, Prima, Pietra. You guys were amazing. Thank you, big time. Steven. Okay, so my cleaning lady is on quarantine, so we'll take the cleaning. Okay, Steven, but you need to buy 36 bottles. I think it's going to be cheaper to hire another housekeeper. I think it's going to be cheaper than my 36 bottles. Yeah, thank you, Steven. Thank you very much. Let's see who is online. Just a quick hello to everyone. Oh, there, Christopher there. Thank you, Francesco. Great choices and very informative. Thank you, Chris and Annette. You guys are amazing. Oh, Carrie, I'm gonna activate your audio.
My bucket list.
Hi, guys.
Francesco, thank you.
Thank you guys very much. You've been amazing. Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Hey,
Can't wait
Hey,
to get back on that.
Francesco, the one thing though was really good is that you started after the Masters this year. We don't have to worry about that next time.
Yes.
Don't schedule that during the Masters weekend next time.
You're right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Take care. Be safe, guys.
Thanks, Francesco. Great job. Cheers.
Brad, how you guys
Thank
doing?
We're doing great. It's getting dark, but it was awesome.
It's getting dark already?
It is.
Well, thank you, Bradley.
Have a great-
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
I appreciate it. You guys too. Ciao. Ciao. Jim, hi.
There goes Francesco. There we go.
Jim, thank you. Thank you, guys. I activated your audio, Jim. And also, who's online? Oh, Christopher saying hi to Mary. Hi, Mary. How are you doing? Mary, she's working on back office, giving a huge help to this guy. So, Dailene, thank you very much. You be safe too. Thank you, Dailene Bennett, as well. Thank you. Thank you guys very much. Vince, just the last few seconds will be to thank Vince Ayamuno from Cary, North Carolina, an amazing friend of mine, which his family is going through rough times. Man, I love you, and I'm very sorry for what happened to your mom. My condolences and much love from Montepulciano. We are with you. I'm with you. Thank you, Vince. Thank you guys very much. Oh, Jim. Yeah, cheers, guys. I see you. Ciao. Thank you guys very much. Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep. Mary and I are gonna go to sleep. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful afternoon, beautiful evening. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you very much for not falling asleep on me. Thank you guys, really, by the bottom of my heart. I'm gonna send you the email with the link of the registration, the recorded video, the recorded version. Thank you. We're gonna finish the live. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao. See you in 2 weeks from now. Thank you.